aago mẹ́sàn-án ti lù.
What did I say, huh? What did I say? I told you no touchy. Now you suffer the bite of the lion and the clenching jaws of an alligator.
No touchy. Especially not a fan of Diamond FM. Don't touch that radio set.
Diamond 88.7 FM is here to make sense out of your world through our balanced news coverage from the nooks and crannies of Nigeria and beyond. Journey with us through the news we tracked for you at this moment on your shining supreme station.
For the best of national, local, international news and sport, tune in to News Punch and Diamond 88.7 FM. News Punch, all about the news.
It's 1 minute gone past 9 a.m. Good morning and thank you for joining us in today's edition of News Punch on Diamond 88.7 FM Iroyin, where we bring you the trends and stories across the globe. My name is Mekamoa Osibodi. Here are the stories making waves across the world. In Nigeria, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has advised the Central Bank of Nigeria to review its Naira swap policy to reverse its negative impact on Nigerians. Fashola, who made a live appearance on Channels Television's The 2023 Verdict on Monday, was reacting to the outrage over the widespread scarcity of the 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes since they were unveiled on November 23, 2022. The minister bemoaned the hardship brought on by the directive of the Apex Bank, saying it was imperative that public office holders review their policy when they had the opposite effect than desired. In politics, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court Abuja yesterday ordered the People's Democratic Party (PDP) not to take any action aimed at suspending or expelling Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike from the party. The order was made upon an ex parte motion filed by Wike against the entire hierarchy of the PDP. The Rivers State Governor equally sought an order deeming such services made above as proper service. Upon reading the affidavit in support of the motion ex parte, disposed to by one Precious Ikwe and filed at court registry, and after hearing, the court granted the relief sought. And on the foreign scene, Turkey's relief agency says the death toll from yesterday's earthquakes has climbed to 2,921. Yunsa Zeza, who heads the AFAD agency, said an additional 15,384 people were injured, while 6,217 buildings have collapsed. The two quakes were followed by 243 aftershocks, he said, adding that 16,400 rescue workers were active in the affected areas. In sport, Serie A giant Inter Milan are looking at Fulham defender Tosin Adarabioyo as a possible candidate to replace Milan Skriniar in the summer transfer window. The former England youth international is a target for Inter, whilst the likes of Marseille and Monaco are also keen on his signature. Inter's search for a replacement for Skriniar is picking up now that it has been confirmed that the Slovakian will join Paris Saint-Germain in the summer. That's all we have for you on this edition of News Punch. Up next is the Diamond Breakfast Show, where we bring you the analysis of the stories. Do stay tuned.
The major talking points in Nigeria are always on the lips of the citizens.
What's going on in this country? Look at smaller countries taking lead, and you call yourself giant of Africa. Yeah.
Nigeria don't spoil my business too much. Nigeria is too hard for us. I mean, they want to kill us. Father, not kill us for Nigeria. Oh, please, help us beg them.
They should reduce their expenditure so that they can free enough money for social development.
I wish for a Nigeria where we elect a leader based on competency and not popularity.
On the Diamond Breakfast Show, we place the spotlight on the critical issues in the country.
Government that says they are broke can prioritize construction of an additional runway over education of the people.
How can you hold Indomine? This is intolerable. It's provocative.
Now, you see, when you look at our democratic journey, we are yet to practice genuine democratic system in Nigeria.
Join us on Mondays to Friday on the DBS from 9 to 10 a.m. The Diamond Breakfast Show, amplifying the voice of the people.
From the studios of Diamond 88.7 FM Ilorin, this is the Diamond Breakfast Show.
Good morning and welcome to the Diamond Breakfast Show. This is the show where we bring you analysis of some of the major stories from the week. Here's me trusting that you're having a fantastic day already. Good morning once again and welcome to your Shining Supreme station. Well, to do the analysis with me this morning of some of the major stories is Mr. Olariwaju Lawal, a public affairs analyst and social commentator. He's also the choir officer of Budget Tracker. Great to have you in the studio once again.
Good morning, Wamaka. Good morning to all our listeners home and abroad.
All right,
it's great to be
have
here.
You. Like I like to ask, how are you doing, sir?
Am I?
All right, great.
I'm coping.
Amazing. Well, let's get straight into the conversations for today. Bear in mind that we're live on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, we're Diamond 887 FM, and on YouTube, it's Diamond FM Ilorin. Be sure to be a part of the conversation by dropping your contributions in the comment section. You could also send a message via WhatsApp to 0913 655 6864. At intervals for every topic that we talk about, we'll open up the phone line so you could call in and be a part of the conversation. And for the first story for today, now it was a serious twist in the ongoing conversation on the Naira redesign, as Justice Eneljo Enenche of the Federal Capital Territory High Court stopped the Central Bank of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, and 27 commercial banks from suspending or interfering with the currency redesign terminal date of February 10th, or issue any directive contrary to the said date. In a motion by 4 political parties, the court also granted an order directing the chief executive officers of the banks to show cause why they should not be arrested and prosecuted for the financial sabotage of the country by illegally hoarding and not disbursing the new 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1000 naira banknotes, despite supply of such notes by the central bank. The political parties that filed the suit were Action Alliance, Action People's Party, Allied People's Movement, and National Rescue Movement. Now, the recent CBN policy has been met with polarizing views, as some have expressed support for the Apex Bank's decision, while many others have kicked against it as insensitive to the average Nigerian. On the one hand, some critics of the directive accuse the central bank of deceiving Buhari. For instance, a former national chairman of the All Progressive Congress (APC), Adams Oshiomhole, faulted the policy, describing it as senseless and a plot by the Apex Bank to scuttle the general elections. Now, according to him, the CBN sold an anti-corruption motive to the president, which made him approve the policy. And on the other hand, in spite of the policy presented as targeted at corrupt politicians and hoarders of illicit funds, some others, like the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and Labour Party, Peter Obi, have shown support for the CBN. The conversation changed yesterday, and nobody expected the court ruling to come this quick. Now, no further extension, according to the court's decision, with Nigeria still finding it difficult to swap the currency. What are your views about the court ruling?
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning once again to all our listeners. You see, this move, this policy has been over politicized by, of course, the politicians. Let us look at the entirety of the policy. What are the aims and the objectives of the policy? The CBN, through the CBN Act, is empowered by law to be in charge of currency design, redesign, and circulation, issuance and circulation of the legal tender, which in this case, in the case of Nigeria, is the naira. So on that score, constitutionally, the CBN is right. However, the ways of implementing it, I believe, as an observer, because I'm not in the banking sector and I'm not a politician, so I can't speak for them. However, as a Nigerian who is also feeling the brunt, I can say the way the CBN has implemented this particular policy has fallen short of the required international standards. And I will give one example to buttress my point. September last year, 2022, the United Kingdom decided to change the £20 and £50 notes from the paper notes to polymer. Just like we have our 50 naira, 20 naira, 10 naira, 5 naira. They are polymers because it is more durable. Now, directive was given through their own central bank, which is of course known as the Federal Reserve Bank or Bank of England, that citizens can begin to bring these 20 and 50 pound notes into the bank for the banking system to mop it up while they will issue the new polymer. Now, watch the caveat here is September last year. The deadline is December 31st this year. That's about 15 months. In the case of Nigeria, the new notes, the redesigned notes, the announcement was made in October. The new notes came into circulation December 15th, and it is expected to go out with the extension now by February 10th. That's a little over 2 months, or a little under 2 months, because by the 15th of February, it will make exactly 2 full months. That is way too short. This is where the CBN has come short. Now, back to another error is that there was no proper oversight by the CBN when the first tranche of the new notes were delivered to the banking system. Now, don't forget that the CBN has come out to say over 80% of the entire liquidity, the liquidity ratio of our money, the one in circulation, over 80% is outside of the banking system. That in and of itself creates a national security issue, because when there's too much cash, if there's too much cash in circulation, prices will go up because there's so many currency notes chasing few goods. Therefore, prices will go up, and that's one of the key factors driving our inflation as a country. Now, they want to mop up this money. It is their constitutional duty to do that, but there was no proper oversight. Whatever oversight they have carried out was not working. I will tell you here now for free, that first tranche was mopped up by the big wigs in the society. I was hearing in the news, the last bulletin you guys read, about a bank manager that was arrested in Abuja. The same goes for every other state in this country. In Ilorin, where we are, as we are now, in Ilorin, there are bankers that are cashing out on this naira redesign. Citizens will go to the bank, they will be told they can only collect 2,000, they can only collect 5,000, they can only collect 3,000, and they are even paid in old tattered notes. 10 naira, 5 naira, 20 naira, 50 naira. Not even the new redesigned notes. And we have big wigs who these bankers carry these redesigned notes to at their conveniences, and then they get a cut for it. So we as a people are also part of the problem. Now, if the CBN had been very proactive with its oversight functions as a regulator in the banking system, to know that these monies must be paid over the counter or loaded into the ATM machines. Don't forget, when the CBN governor gave a press interview detailing some of the steps of this policy, he said, and I can't forget, that henceforth, once the new redesigned notes are introduced into circulation, ATMs will only be dispensing 200 naira notes. That was why they capped daily withdrawal limits to 20,000. That ATM machines would only be dispensing 200 naira notes, not even 1,000, not 500. But what do we have now? You don't even get 500 from the ATM machines. Whenever you're lucky enough to get monies from the machine, you get 1,000 naira notes.
Well, this conversation will definitely talk more about it, but right now let's go on a quick timeout. When we get back, we'll dive further into the currency swap and more. Stay with us.
ikú parapọ̀ ikú ọmọlé èrún parapọ̀ wọ́n máa gìyàn gbogbo ọmọ ìpínlẹ̀ Kwara ẹja parapọ̀ sóríire látara ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú People's Democratic Party PDP ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú tó mẹ̀tọ́ tó mú káyọ̀ gbẹdẹmukẹ fún tolórí tẹlẹ́mù tó nílé tàlejò nígbà tí wọ́n ṣèjọba ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú PDP láàánú mẹ̀kúnnù bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n kó àkóyawọ́ àwọn àkànṣe iṣẹ́ jàǹkànjàǹkàn ní díẹ̀ nínú àwọn iṣẹ́ tí ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú PDP ti ṣe sẹ́yìn ẹja tara ṣàṣàgbá káàdì ìdìbò wa ká parapọ̀ dẹ́gbẹ́ òṣèlú PDP padà àní sọ̀bùnú bẹ́ẹ̀ là ní ṣìbòdì.
ẹ̀yin ará Kwara mi ọ̀wọ́n ká dìbò fẹ́gbẹ́ tó láàánú ará ìlú ó sú wa ẹ jẹ́ ká dìbò fún ẹgbẹ́ PDP.
PDP, power to the people.
Just in case you just joined us, this is still the Diamond Breakfast Show where we analyze stories from the week. And with me in the studio is Mr. Olariwaju Lawal, who is the Kwara officer for Budget Tracker, a public affairs analyst and social commentator. Now, we're talking about the current court ruling and, of course, the part of the CBN, the Apex Bank. And you made mention of duration and oversight concerning now most people believe
part of the CBN.
On the part of the CBN, of course, and most people believe now because of the political parties that filed the motion, initially the policy was to correct excessive circulation of the old notes. Now that we're getting into the political conversation about it, it's more of a political conversation. Do the recent allegations from politicians alike and the court judgment further posit that the old policy from the onset was political?
I cannot rule out political undertones. I won't rule that out. I'm not privy to some of the meetings where some of these decisions are arrived at, but some of the reasons that have been given are purely economical. That we have too much funds in circulation, we need to mop it up, and for that, it falls within the constitutional purview of the CBN as the regulator of both our fiscal and monetary policies. However, don't forget that the issue of cashless policy is about 10 years old already in this country, and we are still moving at a snail speed. You want to buy anything, you literally have to pay in cash. Even when we look at the cashless policy in and of itself, it is only in this country that policies will come and then will turn it upside down. Let me give an example for that too. The cashless policy was to reduce the amount of cash in circulation. That means we will go digital. You don't have to pay for whatever goods and services in cash. Even though the person is still receiving money, but it will be digitalized. Now, it reduces the incidence of torn notes, tattered notes. It also reduces the incidence of, carjacking, muggling of people by the roadside and collecting whatever cash they have on them. And economically speaking, it gives the regulator, now the CBN, more oversight. They will be able to track more. They will be able to do more surveillance on how funds are being moved from one point to the other. And don't also forget that it is also more expensive to print notes. Now, for the wrongful application, business owners are expected to have what we call point of sale terminals, POS. But in Nigeria, we have turned POS terminals into cash receiving terminals. It shouldn't be. You're supposed to walk into a shop, no matter how small. Whatever you want to buy, be it 5 naira, 10 naira, you don't have the physical cash, but you have your ATM card. Then whatever goods you are buying, you pay with your ATM card. That is what the POS terminals that we see all around are originally meant for. Now, how did we apply it in this country? Everybody now takes a POS terminal and stays by the roadside. In fact, they stay right opposite the ATM gallery of commercial banks. And then you visit those ATM machines, you don't have cash in there, the POS guys will be calling you and say, bros, there's money there, come and collect here. So it is a job for the boys, as we used to say on the streets. We have turned it upside down. And it does not encourage inclusivity, because every of these digital payments leaves what we call digital footprints for the relevant regulatory agency to be able to track, to monitor. What cash does is it disappears into thin air. You can't really track it. If you give me money, if I deny, it is your word against my word. If it is cash, I will most likely get away with it. But if it is digitalized, then there is evidence, because there is always a channel through which the money is flowing. So even if you rub it off from your end, or I erase evidence from my end, that particular channel is still there for us to be able to get incontrovertible evidence. So these are some of the advantages, and we are 10 years into this policy and we are not making progress. It might sound painful. Yes, the Yorubas will say titari roll and kola. Toba jinotan lo man doge. You will go through this moment of pain, of suffering, in order for us to evolve. Smaller countries that are not as big as we are, their GDP, their economy is not as big as ours. They are more digitalized than we do. So the policy itself is a good one, but the way they have implemented it is what is bringing untold suffering on Nigerians. And then the corruptible nature of the players in this industry has made it such that even the primary targets are no longer feeling the brunt. All these ones that you see political parties shouting up and down, the reason why they are shouting is because in our electoral process, vote buying has come in, and it is becoming more and more entrenched. Now, this vote buying is under threat with this policy. Now, for you to collect money for your vote, since there's no physical cash, they need to make transfers. If they do that, then there's evidence against them. Are you following my logic?
Yeah.
So that's why you see so much cries from the political class. Of course, they will whip up sentiment from the masses as well, because that is a cannon fodder. The masses, who literally does not have much, even in the bank, will still shout that there's no money. And come to think of it, for you to know how corruptible we are as a people, even POS now, have you had the recent charges per 1,000? It is borderline wickedness.
Now, speaking of the policy as a whole, policies are made for humans, no doubt.
Definitely.
You made mention of the fact that there's no structure, and that's one of the problems with this policy.
No. I said poor implementation.
Poor implementation.
There are structures.
Right.
There are structures, but they've not been manned competently.
Now, this is a policy that affects over 200 million people, and the time frame, like you earlier mentioned, is also small.
Way too short.
Emefiele, sometime last week or last 2 weeks, made mention of the fact that 100 days is enough for this kind of policy to be implemented. It therefore looks like this is a singular thought and not for an economic reason. Do you agree with that?
Like I said I'm not going to rule out that there's a political undertone. Don't forget that even Emefiele himself as a person does not come clean. This is somebody occupying a very sensitive position who is expected to be apolitical. But in the history of this country, this is the first time I am hearing it. And I didn't just hear it, I saw it. This is the first time in the history of this country, as an adult that I am in this country, where I see a sitting CBN governor purchasing presidential form of a political party, the ruling party. Ordinarily, that alone, that singular act in insaner crimes would have called for his head. So Emefiele himself is no saint. That's why I said I'm not going to rule out the political undertones there. But I'm not going to fight for any political party. All of these shenanigans, they are going to court to do this, to do that. It is self-serving. That's just the truth. It is self-serving for them and not because of the masses.
Now, the constitutional period for this kind of policy is usually 6 months, but we are already ending further deliberation on it once again. No doubt, the court has ruled that there should be no further extension of the date. Now, why fix a deadline around the election time with many economic challenges?
That's why I said you cannot rule out the political undertone. There are political underlinings to it, and I don't want to get engrossed in all of that. It is for the political parties and their actors.
Now we have about 4 days we have about 3 days to the end of this. What do you think needs to be put in place to ensure that there's a smooth run of this?
Greater oversight. Like I said the first tranche that was released by the CBN. Don't forget that one of the directors in the CBN was before the House of Representatives to talk about the first tranche of release, prior to the release of that first tranche. And they put a categorical statement to her. She was a lady. That how much has been printed, the new note. And she said she cannot give them those figures. Do you know why they're asking?
What's that?
Oh, it's a form of calculation now. They know how much they've starched in there. All of us know, unless we just want to turn the blind eye to it. We all know that the greatest hoarders of funds in this country is the political class. Despite the fact that they have huge accounts, the greatest hoarders of money, physical cash in this country, are the political class, the political elites. So if it is a political fight amidst them, the only thing I can tell the CBN is to increase the efficiency of its oversight. By now, I expect the CBN to have directed some, if not all, of its members into all of these banks as a form of oversight. Because now, bankers are cashing out. And very seriously too. It will interest you to know that even in this town, there are bankers that are making as much as 800,000 over on 5 million in tranches like that. Look at the one that was read in the news. A bank manager was caught with 29 million. It's not his money. He's moving that money out for some big wigs who need it. It is all over social media. Last month, one of the presidential candidates was seen handing cash to a man. And that cash, if you zoom that picture, those are new redesigned notes, not the old ones. It is on public record. You can do your findings. Certain states in the northeast, Yobe to be specific, how did they pay the civil servants in December and January? They made over the table payment when they're supposed to disburse it through the banks. Why? Because they need to let out all the cash they've hoarded. So the CBN needs to increase the efficiency of its oversight. That's what needs to be done, and it can be done. It is not rocket science. It can be done. Until they do that, they will be seen to be failing as they failed.
All right, we really hope that changes are made currently. Just before we go on a quick timeout, let's get some reactions concerning the story that we talked about. First off, we have a message on Facebook and it says, CBN, please pump 90% of currencies already swapped into the economy and adopt better methods for cashless policy. A shop rejected cash transfer to sell something this morning. This shop owner has been accepting cash transfer as of last week. CBN needs to pump new currency into the economy or extend the life of old ones. People are using valuable time to chase money. It's a waste of unlimited resources. Another message on WhatsApp says, good morning. I don't agree that the Naira redesign is politicized. The intentions of the CBN and federal government was sabotaged by selfish politicians and gullible banking sector chiefs. As for the UK notes mentioned by the guest, that's in no way related to our peculiarity in Nigeria. The UK did not change their currency note based on the same reasons why we're changing ours. With Nigeria's peculiarity and our type of attitudes and behaviors in this country, harsh measures and drastic steps are needed to drive at making good policies or making anything good work in this country. No matter how good your plans and intentions in Nigeria, the people it won't favor will seriously oppose it at all levels. It wasn't CBN's fault that the money sent from its HQs were hoarded and sabotaged by bankers who are selfish and heartless. Oh, it's a lot of passion in this message. But we'll read more of your messages and take more calls right after this time out. Stay with us, it's still the Diamond Breakfast Show.
Everyone loves an upgrade, but with DSTV, you get boosted to a whole new level. Upgrade to more football and get boosted to the most heart-racing sports moments. Upgrade to your favorite shows and get boosted to emotions like never before. Upgrade to the best action movies and get boosted to high-octane scenes that make you shout, woo!
Upgrade your DSTV package and DSTV will boost you to the next higher package. Offer valid from January 25th to March 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
Diamond FM, your one-stop dial.
We're 31 minutes into the program already. This is the Diamond Breakfast Show where we analyze some of the major stories from the week. And right now we're taking your reactions concerning the Naira redesign and of course swapping the new one for the old ones. One message says, "Good morning, sir. I greet our guest speaker for shedding more light about our country's situation at hand. Honestly, this policy is good, but they implemented the policy in a poor way. They inflict more problem on the masses by enriching others. We Nigerians are fond of saying that our money has no values. It's now vividly clear that our Naira really has value when we have experienced buying Naira with Naira. May God heal our country." Awuni Timothy Toba from Kotangora. This one says, "Good morning, presenter. CBN have not been doing their work properly. With days to the deadline and nothing have been done. Let's wait and see what comes next after 10 February 2023. JC Obasun from Ofa." Well, you could call in 0913-655-6952. Take one or two calls and move on to the next story for today. Ensure that your contributions are as precise as possible and you turn down the volume of your radio. Good morning and welcome to the Diamond Breakfast Show. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and location.
Comrade John Okolo speaking from Iroyin.
Comrade John, good morning. Go on.
Thank you. I think my greetings to the analyst in the studio. He's doing a swell job there. My comment is on the Naira notes swapping and the date for making it illegal tender. I think that date is realistic for everybody to be serious about what's going on in Nigeria. On the 10th of this month, if anybody has any cover in his house that is not new, then he should throw it away. Because if you want a good thing, you must suffer for it. Good things don't come according to Bongo Sikwe. We have to suffer in order to mend our country. Yes, there's no reason why somebody cannot deposit all the money he has within 5 days in the bank. Take it there. Why are we complaining? There are some dubious people who are putting money somewhere for illegal reasons, and they want Nigeria to back them. No. So I support the central bank and the Buhari. Let them stop that, taking that money. Pass from 10, let it be illegal tender. Thank you. God bless you.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution. 0913-655-6952. Take one more call and it's a wrap on this topic. You could also send your message to WhatsApp via the number 0913-655-6864. That's the number on WhatsApp. And still on Facebook, you could drop a comment in the comment section. All right, let's get straight into the second story for today. For the second story of the day, the second court ruling granted an order directing the chief executive officer of the banks to show cause why they should not be arrested and prosecuted for the financial sabotage of the country by illegally hoarding and not disbursing the new 200 naira, 500 naira banknote, despite supplies of such notes by the central bank. Now, we can only achieve the desired result if everybody works to make it possible. Recently, people have been accusing banks of sabotaging the whole process by hoarding the money. An operations manager of a leading commercial bank in Abuja Central area, like you mentioned earlier yesterday, was arrested by operatives of the Economic and Financial Commission for refusing to load the automated teller machines of the bank despite having 29 million naira of the new naira notes in the branch vaults. Now, before he was taken away for further questioning, the operatives ordered the loading of all the ATMs and the payment of the stipulated amount across the counter, to the delight of the distraught customers who had spent hours on queues without getting the new notes. The head media and publicity EFCC, Wilson Uwajare, revealed in a statement. Uwajare noted that this discovery, which indicated a sabotage of the government's monetary policy by some banks, was made by the EFCC in continuation of the ongoing surveillance and visit to banks across the country to assess their vaults and verify whether they were deliberately refusing to dispense the redesigned naira notes. It seems the banks are up to something. A video circulated across social media which showed a man who was asking bank representatives the reason for holding up to 6 million without giving it out to customers. The bank said it was yet to configure the ATM, which made it impossible to load the cash it got from the CBN. Let's listen to the man.
Yes, I'm currently at Sterling Bank Road, as part of this monitoring compliance with the guidelines issued by CBN. They have 6 million, which they've collected from the bank for almost 2 weeks. They've not disbursed any. They said they're yet to configure their ATM. I do not know why that. And I brought attention to the penalty clause of 1 million per day, because they have 5 ATMs here, and so there's nothing stopping them from keeping. They don't have any reason for keeping this money. The zonal service manager, what's his name again? Tunde Onipede promised that by 10 a.m. latest tomorrow, because I told him by latest 10 a.m. I'll be here, and I want to see this machine dispensing this money. This is what's the whole name? Olumide Olabi, service manager. And you? Okay, my name is Uwe. I'm a deputy director of CBN, right? Bye.
Thank you. Now, a member of our newsroom, Abiodun Akiwumi, yesterday as well visited the bank in the Ilorin metropolis to see how the process is going, but was met with strict reactions from the bank workers who threatened him for carrying out his duty. Here's our newsroom correspondent.
You cannot even allow me to do anything here. So you understand? You don't need to make any record. Understand me very well.
Now, this goes to show that the banks are up to something. Maybe. Let's get more from the ongoing allegations before we dive deep into this and arrest. Now, what was your experience? Let me start from you. What was your experience while trying to get the new notes and deposit the old ones?
My experience, just like with other Nigerians, is not different. For my own, when I got to the bank and I saw the mammoth crowd, I just turned back. That's just the truth. But I have people, including my spouse, my wife, who went to the bank yesterday since past 7 in the morning. After the school bus left with my kids, she left for the bank. She did not leave the bank until past 5 in the evening, and she was able to get just 5,000 naira. I have a cosmate who is working in this town in a federal agency, who was in the bank after spending more than 8 hours. She was paid only 2,000 naira with 50-50 naira in 50-50 naira denomination. I have a friend who was paid 1,000 naira after spending over 8 hours. He was paid in 10 naira notes. So I can go on and on and on. You can see from the sound clip you played that the level of endemic corruption across all sectors in this country is appalling, to say the least. The government has issued a directive, a policy guideline, and there are steps to make it work. But there are saboteurs within every sector. a bank manager was arrested with 29 million. He's not taking that 29 million to his own house. He's taking it to some big wigs. Those ones within that banking hall, I think that should be Akure, right?
Right.
It should be Akure in Ondo State. Now, those ones too that fail to load it into the ATM, that money is going to some big wigs who are stashing up their war chest for the coming elections. So that's why I said when the first story we treated, they went to court and all. I don't want to involve myself with all of that. They are shenanigans to me, because this policy in the long run will favor the country. I've given you some of the advantages why we need to go cashless. Both for we as a people, it is safer, and for the country, it is even more economical, because digital currency is cheaper to maintain than the physical cash. Now look at, these are cases of Nigerians sabotaging the effort of the government that they put in place. That's why I said the CBN has to increase the efficiency of its oversight functions. As at that December 15th, what I expected the CBN to have done when they made that policy announcement in October, they should have collaborated with the ICPC, with the EFCC, with the DSS, with the SCID, that is the arm of police. They should be plain clothes, giving bank ID cards as undercover, either as CBN or whatever. Go into all of these major banks, station themselves in these banks, monitor the CCTV, keep checking the vault periodically, maybe every 60 hours, every 33 hours, every 88 hours, in shift basis, just to make sure that people get their hands on these new notes. Then gradually reduce the volume of physical cash that is disbursed to the banks. When people bring the old notes, the banks will take it from them and issue new notes. We've said, at first they said it is 10,000, later they increase it to 20,000 per day withdrawal, either over the counter or over the ATM machine. Once you get to your limit for cash withdrawals, then you now go cashless. Are you following my logic? Yeah. Now, if the CBN had done all of this from inception, we will not be feeling the bite as we are feeling it now. That's just the truth. So the CBN has to take part of the blame, just as the people who also want to circumvent every policy of government for their own advantage. And we need to put a stop to it.
Now, if we have a problem where every stakeholder involved in making a policy has a fault, what then do we resolve to? Because the people at this point, the people have a part to play in what is currently going on. And
Definitely.
Also the government officials. What then is the solution?
The solution is for every one of us to be genuinely patriotic to the success of this country. Because it is when the country is successful that you as a citizen can be successful. But some people are putting their personal interest over and above the interest of the country. That is what is causing all of this mess. And it cuts across all cadre, from the leadership down to the followership. It cuts across all cadre. Every sector, none is spared. Name it. I will give you examples. This one is coming out now. Let us not even go into the issue of the energy crisis, both fuel and electricity. You find the imprint of saboteurs everywhere, at every junction you get to. No matter how highly placed or lowly placed they are. So we need a total reorientation as a people. Yes, the government has not served us well. They've deceived us for so long. They've taken us for a ride for so long. But we, in our own little corners, what are we doing as a people to better this country? That's a question, a personal question that each and every one of us have got to answer.
Well, I hope that people get to answer these questions for themselves. Let's go on a quick timeout. When we get back, we'll dive more into this and get your reactions about the next story. Stay with us.
dúró náà baálé mi ṣébi tẹ́ ẹgbẹ́ mi gbàǹjo òní tá à ń já kòtò tá à ń já gegele náà kọ́ yìí kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́.
Kwara ti yàtọ̀ ní. láyé ìṣèjọba gómìnà Abdulrahman Abdulrazak àkàìmọye iṣẹ́ ojú ọ̀nà ni wọ́n ti gùn lé. kó lè bá àmúlí lọ bíbọ̀ ọkọ̀ àtàwọn èrò tó ń kọjá lójú pópó lọ nírọ̀rùn. iṣẹ́ lọ lọ́wọ́ lórí General Túndé Ìdíàgbọn flyover ní táǹkẹ̀. títí oníbejì láti Yẹ́bùmọ́ roundabout lọ dádẹ́ta tó fi dọ́lọ́jẹ̀. táǹkẹ̀ òkè odò ring road ń kọ́. tó fi máa tó ṣe ODUWOLE road àti Abdulaziz Ata road nílọrin. tiléṣà bàrùbá wọ gbànàrà níjọba àbílẹ̀ bàrùtẹ́ kìlómítà 23 ni. tó fi máa o sí òbò ayégúnlẹ̀ road lẹ́kìtì. tilẹ̀rẹ̀ district nífẹ̀ẹ́ lódùn. Coca-Cola palace road níjẹ̀bà. àwọn ọ̀nà oníworo síworo interlocking lọ bàbẹ̀sùá. ọ̀nà tó gbóndóró kọ amáyọ bypass. olómù road ló mú àrán Kamal district nílọrin west. Emir palace road ní yasukira àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ mélòó la fẹ́ kà.
baálé mi tó bá òun ni tó bá wá rí bẹ́ẹ̀ Malam Abdulrahman yíyẹ ní gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Kwara lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni dìbò fún Malam Abdulrahman Abdulrazak gẹ́gẹ́ bí gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Kwara lábẹ́ àsíá ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC Progress APC máa ṣe lọ.
You're listening to Diamond 88.7 FM, shining supreme. Shine bright like a
46 minutes after 9, this is the Diamond Breakfast Show, and I'm joined by Mr. Olariwaju. He's the choir officer of Budget Tracker, a public affairs analyst and social commentator. Once again, it's great to have you join us on the show today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we're talking about the current ongoing in the country, especially concerning the Naira redesign and the currency swap. Considering all of the drama that is going on, do you think there should be an extension of the deadline?
No.
And you see this why?
Because we're just postponing the doomsday. It's here already, so let's just face it.
And for clarity's sake, once the deadline is over, can we still go to the bank to submit the old note?
Yes, I think the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, made that explicitly clear to the CBN governor. And I think this is where lawyers can come in now to dissect and give judicial pronouncement or interpretation to the CBN Act. They spoke about Section 20, subsection 345, where it stipulates that after the expiration of the lifespan of the old notes, it ceases to be a legal tender. What that means is you cannot use it to trade between persons, person to person, business to business. But once you are in custody of such notes, you have the right to take it to the bank, and the banks are mandated to redeem it. That's the word, yes. To redeem the value. So they will take these old notes from you. You cannot trade with it outside. And I think it should last for a period of 6 months. So you take it to the bank, even though the CBN governor said they are not, it is for a period of 7 days. That 7 days is way too short. And I think that is where public spirited lawyers should come in, take the CBN to court. Based on this CBN Act, you cannot flout the rules that created you as an institution to serve the people. 7 days after the 10th of February is way too short. I am not saying they should extend the deadline. No, let it be 10th as it was, as it has been stated. But if for any reason you have these old notes with you, like I do, take it to the bank, deposit it in your account. If you don't have an account, open one, because the informal sector is largely unbanked in this country. That's another good policy of that cashless policy. It is to expand the net, get more citizens to be banked, to come into the banking system. Then government can monitor the flows of money in and out. So after February 10th, 11th, on and on like that, I think the period should be extended to 6 months.
All right.
For people to take those monies that are seized to be legal tenders to the banks, for the banks to redeem their value for them.
Now, finally, the PDP alleged that banks are hoarding the cash purposely for the presidential candidate of the APC. What actions would you want the government to do to prove if the allegations are true or not?
First and foremost, those ones that have been caught, they are economic saboteurs. They should be made to face the wrath of the law. They should be taken to court. Their judgment should be expedited. They should be publicly named and shamed, and then they should be committed to prison.
Right. Well, let's get reactions from you, the listeners. You can send messages via WhatsApp to 0913 655 or call 0913-655-6952. Kindly ensure that you turn on the volume of your radio and you're as precise as possible so we could accommodate a lot of people. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Z from Chelsea.
Good morning, Dr. Zil. Go on.
Yeah, you see, when it comes to all of these policies, CBN and all the brouhaha and the suffering self-created as a nation to ourselves, it's because we do not have disciplinary actions that are supposed to be meted out at the right time. We don't have it. Even the judiciary is messed up. And all these things, when we say lawyers, the lawyers we have in Nigeria, they are even frustrated because they themselves, in one way or the other, we cannot really place them in a nation whereby even when it comes to election matter or all these things, somebody who does not contest election will be declared winner by Supreme Court or by any of these courts. What are we talking about? See, let's tell ourselves the truth. Anytime I hear people say that everybody, the masses mindset can only change when they are the disciplined mindset. If there is no discipline, mindset cannot change. Let's get disciplined. Then let our judicial system work for truth so that we can achieve the right thing. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Zil. Well, Abdurrashid Jabita on Facebook says, Nigeria commercial banks are the ones sabotaging this policy. To be sincere, they are not helping matters at all. The rate of charges on transfer now is high, and the network is nothing to write home about. Our banks are not helping. That's what this person says on Facebook. 0913-655-6952 is the number to call. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning.
Name and location.
Mr. Isa from Temidire.
Mr. Isa, good morning. Go on.
Yes, I just tuned in and I heard the guest, the studio there was talking about patriotism and discipline. It does not exist. We find it difficult to develop this country. I think he has said the right thing. It takes all of us. If all of us were doing the right thing, saying what we are saying objectively, not involving politics, not involving sentiment, not involving hatred, we will develop this country. It takes all of us. We don't need to wait for leadership to come and say, yeah, they have their role. We all have our role. If in our various places we are patriotism to this, to this nation, we will get there. But the way we are now, I keep saying it, even if an agent comes to this country, you find it difficult to rule. Thank you so much. Well,
thank you so much, Mr. Isa. Like he said, he expanded on the fact that we need to be patriots as citizens of Nigeria. 0913-655-6952. Take a few more calls and wrap this up. Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
In the studio. Yeah, this is Mr. Adeleke calling from Sawmill.
Good morning, Mr. Adeleke. Go on.
Yeah. My take on the issue of this call this morning regarding the cashless policy, I think the government is putting the cart before the horse in that, in my own experience, I think you can't force a cashless policy on illiterate people. Most of our people around here are very illiterate. You don't expect my mom, who went to no school, to know how to do transfer, most of them do not even have a bank account. I have an industry. My workers refuse to take transfer from me because they claim they don't have the time to go and queue at the ATM and collect money. You have to give them the cash. So when you promote illiteracy, these are the kind of problems you face. You need to first of all educate your people, and when they get the education, introducing this kind of policy will not be difficult. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Adeleke. A quick question just before we take the final call for today. People say that one of the major problems about the policy was that the orientation process was poor. Do you agree with that?
I do. Yes, I do. I've said it before. I said the CBN should have done more. They can still do more. That's why I said the policy is failing. It is seen to have failed and it's still failing. But it does not call for total banishment of the policy, because you don't have to throw away the baby with the bathwater.
All right, thank you so much. Let's take the final call for today. 0913-655-6952. Kindly try again. 0913-655-6952. Well, while we wait for the final call. Okay, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Name and location.
Yeah, Dr. Zil, I want to say that we can throw away with the baby with the bath of water on this one.
All right.
Dr. Zeus.
Yeah, first Dr. Zeus opposes that fact. On the final note, Mr. Olariwaju, what are your thoughts?
Let us all be patriotic. Let us, in our own little space, ensure we are disciplined in our actions, shun corruption, and play our part as patriotic citizens to make this country better. It takes you and I, not foreigners, to make Nigeria better. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, like Mr. Olariwaju said, we hope that more citizens embrace the interests of the nation in their hearts and do better. And we also hope that the central bank, the Apex Bank, collaborates with the necessary agency to make this smoother and better. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Diamond Breakfast Show this morning. That's the size of our package today on the Diamond Breakfast Show, a production of the News and Current Affairs Department. A big thank you to Mr. Olariwaju for honoring our invitation. My name is Mekamwa Osigbodi. A big thank you to everyone working behind the scene, Akobi and Mr. Shegun. Thank you so much for making this work. Really appreciate you. Right after now is the news in our native dialect and Eba Adasi with Ishola. Stay with us. It's still your shining supreme station.
This is our promise. We made up